Okay, so welcome everybody. I hope you all had a nice holiday weekend with your family and friends. Before we get started today, I'm going to automatically go off the agenda, of course, and I'm going to turn it over to Erin Fraser for a special announcement.
Special announcement, drum roll. Dan Hemdall is the new director of CDS as of 12/2 this week. Woo! Thank you. And Stacy Mitchell has stepped up as the site director for opportunities and First Step. So thank you, Stacy Mitchell, who's joining us. So I just want to make sure people know that I think I'm very excited for CDS to have a full-time person dedicated to supporting the transition in this work. And Dan has a lot of great ideas, and we're very excited to move forward with him as a leader of CDS. So I just wanted to announce that for everyone.
Great. Thank you, Erin, and welcome, Dan. We're very excited to work with you. And next, I am going to turn it over to, I know we said Kim Hall on the agenda, but Kim is out sick. So we are going to turn it over to our own Jennifer Hopkins, and she is going to go over the January 1st child counts.
Right, thank you. So bear with me as I'm not used to presenting at these meetings. So hopefully you can all see my screen. And this will be what our January 1st child count will look like. We kind of updated the spreadsheet, it may look a little different for everyone. We added a few columns here that thought would be helpful for ourselves so we wouldn't have to reach out to everybody to ask questions. We also have directions down here, which I don't believe we had on the last one, which are very helpful, I feel. And you can click on the SAU ID codes and the town codes, and then they'll populate so you don't have to worry about looking for another document. We added the attending SAU as we were doing our first October count, we realized how many superintendent agreements we do have. So we wanted to make sure we knew where the child actually resides and then where the child is attending. So we know it kind of makes it a little clearer for us to be able to understand what process is happening. You may have superintendent agreements for children that you didn't have last time because of child find. You might have found children eligible. So we will need those superintendent agreements. We do not need superintendent agreements for the children that you had last quarter. You don't have to worry about sending those to me, just any new children who may have a superintendent's agreement. If you counted a child in child find last quarter, and they're for some reason still in child find this quarter, you cannot count them again. They're only counted once. If it just remember, I also need the consent to evaluate signed by the parent for them to be able to count for child find for this quarter. And we added an IEP date because we recognize that some children may be in child find and get an IEP in the same quarter. And we want to make sure that you get the funding for both. So we're not confused on why do you have the child in child find, but they have an IEP. This way we'll know why, because we'll see the IEP provision, the date that you held the meeting. So there won't be any confusion on our part, and we hopefully won't have to reach out and harass all of you so frequently like we did last quarter to get information needed. So this will go out to you tomorrow. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to Kim or myself. We'd be happy to walk through it with you. Most of the rest of the information is similar to last time, but definitely if you have questions when you're starting to fill it out, let me know or Kim know, and you can start filling this out now. So where we have a couple of weeks off coming up here very soon for a fun little holiday, you'll be able to have some time to start populating your spreadsheet. And I believe Barbara McGowan is here, so I'm going to turn it over to Barbara McGowan. She
Before you do,
Yep.
can I speak real quick about this?
Well, of course, Paula. I didn't see my Vanna.
I'm right here. I'm here. I just wanted to quickly say that the whole reason, I think you alluded to this a little bit, but the whole reason we're trying to get this out earlier is because it was requested that we do it a little earlier because of the upcoming holidays and because we do have a short timeline to receive it so that we can get that third quarter payment out as quickly as possible in January. So again, this is for the January 1st count. Where are they on January 1st? Who are they? What is their status? If we can get it back by uh, I think we decided the 8th of January so that we could try to send payments out by the 15th. That's our hope. So working under those guidelines, that would be great. That's all I wanted to add. Thank you, Jen. You did great. And hopefully this updated spreadsheet will be a little bit easier for both you and for us in the collection until we can have something a little more formal arranged for next year, next cohort. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Nikki, we need it done, even if nothing's changed, because we need to know the quarterly counts every quarter to be able to determine the funding. Please. Thank you for that question.
And I believe Barbara McGowan is on this call and she's going to talk about some documentation that she'll be collecting.
I'm here, Jen.
Okay, good. Phew. I was like, oh no.
I told you I would be. Here I am.
You?
So Jen is talking about how we're going to determine high cost in district and out of district costs for you all. As you know, DOE is paying 100% of the cost. So the way we're going to do this is we're setting this up in Grants for Me. It's not live yet. So for your first quarter information, if you would go back and send me or Jen a detailed trial balance for Fund 2213, we're going to go ahead and we're going to populate that information into Grants for Me for you. And then if we need to, we'll get back to you for some related documents. And an example of a related document would be tuition invoices, things like that. So easy peasy. If you want to send a detailed trial balance for Fund 2213, that's your preschool fund code, to Jen Hopkins, she'll make sure that it gets over to the OSSI team, and we'll get that all populated into Grants for Maine. And we will let Paula's team know if she needs to make an upward adjustment to your subsidy payment. And if you get those to us relatively quickly, we can let her know, I would think, in time for your next disbursement. If there's any, do you have any questions about that? Quarter 2, quarter 3, we may just go ahead and maintain collecting the detailed trial balances and putting that information in for you. Eventually that system will open for you to populate on your own. And we'll certainly do a training when that happens.
I put my email in the chat, which I'm pretty sure everyone has it by now, but just in case there's some business managers on the call or data managers that do not have that information, it's in the chat for you to send the documentation to me.
You can go ahead and stop sharing, Jen. I can't see
Thank you.
half the screens. There
Thanks
they
for the
are.
reminder.
And I would just like to add on top of that, we also did just send out a reminder to all of the cohort 1 SAUs to upload your quarter 1 financials into the MEF system, because that's going to help us as well with the work that Barb is doing. So we just sent a reminder to upload the quarter 1 actuals for FY25. And then of course, quarter 2 will be due after December 31st as well. So hopefully all of the cohort 1 SAUs are prepared to do that as well in MEFs.
So there is a question from Sarah asking if the new spreadsheets will be sent out to us. And Sarah, are you a business manager? Is that what you're wondering? If data?
So my thought was, Jen, that we should send it to the special ed director, the business manager, and the data specialist for each of the 3 units so that they all have the information that we're requesting, but that one should take lead in sending it back filled out, but you all need to work together on making sure that the data is all there.
Thank you. Are there any other questions regarding the spreadsheet or the high cost payments? Okay. Just remember, you can always reach out. Oh, Beth, do you have one?
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, so the high cost, I'm assuming that you're referring mostly to students who might be at special purpose programs and things like that. But if we've had to contract for services that exceed our typical district costs, such as psychological, things like that, do we submit that, or is that something that we reconcile at the end, district by district?
That's a great question. What I'm looking at is holistically what you have received for subsidy and what it's cost to run your program. So if those services took you beyond what you received for subsidy, then we certainly will be making that adjustment in the Grants for Maine system, documenting what it was for. We're learning through the data as we collect this, what a typical cost for a child would be moving forward into quote cohort 2, 3, and 4. So we will be asking you for that documentation, just like if you have out of district tuition bills that are above the norm, which they all are. We ask you for the invoice documentation. For this, we would be asking you for like a medically fragile child, the excessive bills that would come along with that, some invoice documentation. So every quarter, if you just send a detailed trial balance to us, we'll reconcile that for you and get back to you on any kind of adjustments that need to be made, and only then would we ask you for some backup documentation.
Okay, thank you.
So you don't have to worry about what it's for, whether it's in cost out of district. We'll make that determination within the system and just ask you for the backup and go ahead and make the adjustment to your subsidy.
Okay, thank you.
There's another question in the chat about should we be expecting an email regarding high cost to respond to, or should we just send the data to you?
At this point, we just need that detailed trial balance for Fund 2213. You want to make sure with your business managers that everything is being coded to Fund 2213 because that's how we're identifying your subsidy needs beyond what you're receiving now. So no email, you've been notified, send me your detailed trial balance. Send the detailed trial balance to Jen Hopkins.
Okay, any other questions? Once again, you can always reach out with questions if you don't want to put it in the chat or ask. We will go to our next agenda guest speaker, which is our 619 consultant, Susie Perry. And she is going to share with you information about a different data collection system that we will be pushing out to everyone in cohort 1.
Oh yeah, thanks, Sandy. I was thinking as I was listening that seems very much the data that you were just talking about seems very much aligned to the fiscal side, whereas this would be more programmatic. So let me get my screen up here and share the correct one. Screen 2. Let's see if I have everything set up. So can you see that?
Yes.
How's that looking? Like regular full screen? Okay, thank you. So good afternoon, everybody. Today we're going to provide you with information about 2 data sets that schools will track and submit on the preschool age children with disabilities that you're serving. We've talked about these activities in prior sessions, so today's presentation is really about the tool that we'll be sending you to help track and submit 2 required data sets. You're already submitting data on the counts of children with disabilities and the environments that they're being served in. So that's child count and preschool environments, indicator 6. We are also required to submit data on the percentage of children who transitioned from early intervention into preschool special education and the outcomes or progress that children demonstrate based on their participation or receipt of services in early childhood special education programs. So these two data sets are not being collected in EDMS. And so until that's built into that system, we will collect it in a more manual process through a spreadsheet this year. School districts in Cohort 1 will receive their own Excel spreadsheet file to collect and submit data to the State Department of Education. And you will receive a pre-populated spreadsheet based on the counts of children that you submitted on October 1, specific to your district. The requested data elements will be collected and tracked by the school district over the remainder of this school year. And we're asking that the data that you send to us be complete and submitted for each student that is enrolled. We are asking for this data to be sent back to us, the data that you will be collecting on the spreadsheet to be sent back to us by the end of the school year, the fiscal year, on June 30th, 2025. So the spreadsheet is intended to make the data collection as simple as possible and is not a duplicate of any other data collection. So the state is requesting submission of 2 data sets from schools in Cohort 1 that include the following elements, since they're not being submitted into sync anymore. The spreadsheet that will be sent to you will assist in the data collection. The first one is preschool transition. And so we are collecting the number of children that were referred from early intervention from me, the count of them, and how many children were determined to be eligible for preschool special education and whether or not they were provided with an IEP by the time that they were 3 years old. For the child outcomes data, we are looking for the outcomes scores in each of the 3 areas as the children entered the program and as they left the program. So those are the 2 data sets. In the future, this data will be collected in a similar fashion to other data sets, such as child count, disability, LRE. But for now, we're going to be sending the spreadsheet for you to track the data on the children in the program. We're going to provide training to your data specialists or any staff who will be entering the data. And the first page of the spreadsheet describes the data that's being collected. You're seeing a little video of really what the spreadsheet looks like, from the instructions page to the child roster to the in by 3 tab and then the child outcomes tab. Since you don't have that spreadsheet to look at, this quick video just shows you what it overall looks like with the instructions page. And then, like you just saw, the roster page and the in by 3 and then the outcomes pages. So tab 1 was the instructions, and that gives you some directions about what information that we were looking to collect. Tab 2 is a roster of the children that's included in the spreadsheet. So the data that you will receive about the children included in this spreadsheet is pre-populated on this tab. It was submitted by you on October 1st for funding purposes. And it's possible that there are now additional students not on the list that may need to be included, or students that are on the list that are no longer enrolled. And it's up to you to decide whether or not tracking the children by use of this tab on the spreadsheet is going to be helpful or not. It is not required. It's not necessary to track children on this. This is really just for your information only so that you know who was included on the spreadsheet when we pre-populated it for you. The second tab, or tab 3, is called Indicator 12 Transition from Early Intervention. And so when you receive a referral from early intervention program folks from CDS for children that are transitioning out of early intervention, you're going to record the date that the child was referred, the birth date of the child, transition conference dates, things like that, dates, whether or not the child was eligible or not eligible, and the IEP date or the reason for the delay. And these data sets are used to calculate the percentage of children who had an IEP by the time they were 3 years old. And this is what kind of a close-up of that looks like. Let's see. Come on. So 5 data elements are reported by tracking the referral, the eligibility, and the IEP dates of students that are transitioning from early intervention. The data is used to help track that process and stay within timelines. The blue columns are auto-populated from formulas using state and federal timelines. And the goal is for children who are in early intervention to have an IEP by the time they're 3 years old if they were eligible in need of special ed. As the dates for the process are entered into the spreadsheet, the cells that pop up, they may pop up in black or in red, they indicate that you might not be on track to get the child in by 3 due to some potentially missed timelines. So it's designed to be helpful to your team to kind of keep you on track for hitting the timelines that are necessary for getting the children in by 3. If you scroll to the very bottom of the spreadsheet, it will show the percentage of children who had an IEP by their 3rd birthday. So it'll be in that bottom left-hand box. So as children are referred, they're added to this sheet to help with tracking the timelines and determining whether or not the child was in by 3 and the reasons that they may not have been in by 3. There's some drop downs on there. We're going to be providing training to those staff who will be entering this data at a later date, or, probably in January, looks like. And finally, the last tab is for the child outcomes data reporting. So schools report on the entry and exit scores in each of the 3 outcome areas and indicate whether or not upon exit the child made progress. So this is just a big overview of generally what's collected on that. And this is what that tab looks like, that sheet looks like. Child outcome scores are pre-populated for you. So if the child attended a CDS program and a score was entered into sync, we have transferred that information over onto this spreadsheet for you. If a child was enrolled in the district without an entry score, one must be obtained and entered onto the sheet. And at the end of the school year, you will report the scores of all the children who exited the program if they attended that program for at least 6 months. Information on the child outcome summary process and training to determine the scores is still available, and you are welcome to contact our office if support is needed regarding determining these child outcome scores. And then finally, for entry scores, the timelines on this, we're looking for those scores to be determined as soon as possible upon eligibility as a preschool age child with a disability. And that's so that the baseline is determined offers the maximum amount of time for development and instructional progress prior to that exit score being determined. And then for exit, we're looking for that score to be determined as close as possible prior to exiting the program, whether they exit by age or because they're no longer eligible for special education, or if the child moves. A score must be determined in each of those cases. Data on all children exiting the program during the school year should be submitted to the state by June 30th, 2025. on the spreadsheet. And we're asking that you send the spreadsheets back to us through a secure manner by June 30th, 2025. Are there any questions? I know that was kind of quick. It was a quick overview of this spreadsheet that we're going to be sending out to you to collect transition and child outcomes data. If you do have questions, we have contact information for Jen and for Sandy that we can help direct, determine what kind of a question that you have and who would be the best person to answer that question.
Thank you, Susie. Are there any questions regarding this set of data or spreadsheets that we will be sending out to everyone to complete? We have a quiet bunch today. Must be all the turkey.
It's December 4th. That's all I can say.
Well, if there are no questions regarding what Susie just presented, we can open it up to general questions if folks have any. None? Okay, I guess before we sign off for today, just a short reminder that we will not be having December MOU meetings. We will be doing that via email. But as always, if you do want to meet with us, we can set that up in a very short time period to answer any questions you might have. And our next meeting will be on December 18th. And if there isn't anything else, I think we are all set. Thank you for coming today.